After being at Keller Williams for years and building my career to heights I never thought possible at Keller Williams, I made a decision I never thought I was ever going to make. And that was to leave Keller Williams. To understand why I wanted to leave Keller Williams and understand where I went next, kind of have to go back and tell my story of why I joined Keller Williams and what that experience was in the first place. When I first got started in real estate, I really didn't know much. I knew what I found online, but it's really like getting dropped off in the middle of a country you've never been and get told to find yourself to the nearest airport without your phone and not knowing the language. That's kind of what real estate feels like. So when I was looking at brokerages around this time to teach myself how to sell real estate solo, because I was on a team before this, I met a friend who told me about Keller Williams. And Keller Williams really stood out to me because of the training and support you got there. When I first started joining Keller Williams, I was young and I was hungry, and I dove head first in all of those trainings because at this time, they were considered the best of the best of training. And I'm going to say at this time, because there's something else I'll mention later in this video that you want to stay put for, that in my opinion and a lot of other real estate agents does not make this true anymore. Now, that's great. It sounded like it went awesome, and it did for the very beginning. But as I spent more time there, I started to sell more real estate, make more money. I started to pay more money to Keller Williams. And I started to ask myself, I've taken all the classes. I know everything there is to know at Keller Williams. Why am I still paying these heavy fees? And there was a couple other things that would weigh on the back of my mind that I would question myself. Is this the right place for me? Because that great culture I talked about that's touted at Keller Williams, each office is individually operated, and the office I was at was having some interpersonal problems. They couldn't really keep staff on, and the always changing of staff and stuff really put a damper on the culture. Plus, there was a lot of people just weren't friendly in the atmosphere, and that didn't sit well right with me, as well as some industry changes where it kind of felt the industry was shifting and Keller Williams was kind of staying the same. And this isn't just towards Keller Williams, I want to say. This is how I felt for a lot of what I'm calling legacy brokerages. A lot of brokerages out there have kind of stayed the same for the last couple of decades and haven't evolved. And all of this was kind of weighing on the back of my mind. Why are we staying still when the industry is moving forward? Right? So all this is in the back of my mind. And before I move on to this next part, I do want to preference that Keller Williams is an amazing company. I don't want to talk bad about them. I'm just telling my story. I still love and respect Keller Williams and look back at that time that I had fondly with them. But when it comes to the future and where I go, obviously making a decision to go somewhere else was the right choice for me. Looking back on it, almost a year later, I'm making this video. I've left Keller Williams about a year ago. It is the best decision I've ever made. So rewind a little bit and imagine me sitting there at Keller Williams selling real estate. I had hired a coach. I was paying a coach at the time. And these thoughts were kind of floating in the back of my mind. I wasn't paying much credence to it. I wasn't spending much time thinking about it, but every now and again I'd get a bill. I'd be like, why am I paying these high monthly fees? Why am I paying these caps? What is Keller Williams really giving me for the money I'm spending? I would spend thousands of dollars to Keller Williams, and what was I really getting? I started having these thoughts more and more. And it was right around this time that my friend, William Rojas, that you know, he's also on this channel, started telling me about a brokerage he was at. Just off the cuff comments. Like, they would be very casual. They weren't recruiting conversations. He'd be like, yeah, I've been at this brokerage for X amount of time and I like it because of X. And he would be like, dude, this is happening. You know, we were just masterminding. And he started mentioning stuff about this new company called LPT Realty. And some of the things he said just stuck with me. He started talking about branding options and how he was able to do whatever he wanted as long as it followed state laws, of course. And LPT didn't care. And I thought to myself, what? I can't even change Keller Williams logo. It's got to be a specific color and a specific size. And the fact that LPT wasn't, that was cool. Obviously, I didn't think much past it. I just thought, oh, that's cool, moved on. Next thing he said was, I asked him, I forget what the question was, but I asked him about his split. And he was only paying $500 per transaction with a $5,000 cap. I thought that was unreal. I thought, what's the catch, right? Well, the more I looked into it, the more enticing it got. LPT Realty, if you're not sure about it, is a company that was founded by Robert Palmer of RP Funding and Listing Power Tools. At the time of recording this video, it's only 2 years old, and we're about to be in every state and go public, and we are the fastest growing brokerage to ever exist. But at this time, I had never heard of it because it wasn't even open in my state yet. That's the thing. When Will was telling me about this, it was only in like 6-7 states. And I thought, oh, it's a small brokerage. It's another flash in the pan like these other brokerages. But the more he talked about it, the more intriguing it got. There's a brokerage that offers a full suite of tools, agent choice, low cap options, rev share options, stock options, and even marketing material. They were putting agents on billboards. I remember when he told me that and he showed me that, I was shocked. I remember one time, and this is kind of not the thing that made it happen, but Will probably doesn't know this. He might watch this video and get a good chuckle out of it, but he mentioned getting a billboard, and then he mentioned going on radio. I said, oh, you're paying for radio ads? He goes, no, my brokerage is giving agents this spot on this radio channel to help promote their business. And I was like, what? What is that about? How do they afford to do that? And I just started digging heavy into LPT because, again, that was those thoughts were there, and I pushed them away, and I sunk them deep down, and I just thought, there's nothing better. Well, I'm paying a lot of money, but there's nothing better, right? And the more I looked into LPT, I found no flaws. So I asked Will, and we had been friends for years, even before this whole story. I said, Will, can you get me in touch with somebody at LPT? I need to find out what the heck's going on, because I realized this is something I couldn't unsee, right? I saw it. I thought this is where real estate's going. When I thought brokerages weren't evolving, this was the solution. This was a brokerage coming in. It was still relatively new, and it still is. I saw an opportunity, if it was right, to get in early. And I still wasn't sold, by the way. But I thought, could I be missing this? Could I be missing something? I thought, what's the catch? So I wanted to ask people. I ended up on a call with Robert Palmer, the CEO. And I remember being on that call and asking him questions about a lot of things. But ultimately, obviously the brokerage hooked me in. And the brokerage has a lot of great options. And if you're interested in learning more, of course, go in the link in the description below and schedule a call with us, or go to talklptrealty.com. But that's not what's important. Obviously, he sold me on the brokerage, but the thing that stood out to me was how charismatic and how knowledgeable Robert Palmer was at real estate, growing the business and everything. And the picture became clear. I remember leaving that call, and for weeks after, because again, Pennsylvania wasn't open. He said, Pennsylvania will be open in a couple of months. We're looking for agents to help launch it. Whatever. I remember pacing back and forth of my office just thinking about it, getting so anxious that my stomach hurt. And it was during one of those thought process that I thought to myself, well, worst case scenario, I try it. It doesn't work out. I come back to Keller Williams. Keep in mind, I, for years, told myself I was never going to leave Keller Williams. And here I was, thinking about leaving it for this new company that pretty much nobody had left. Fast forward almost a year now. It was the best decision I ever made. LPT Realty, I fully believe with my heart and my soul, is the future of real estate. And I thought my career grew dramatically when I joined Keller Williams. But when I joined LPT Realty, through the training, support, the tools, the freedoms, my career blew up even further. And guess what? If you're a real estate agent, you know that keeping the most amount of money in your pocket is what's important. Why is real estate any different? And your company, why is your company any different? So having those lower caps with more options just made more sense. And don't get me wrong, it's not about recruiting. Obviously, some quick comparisons. Keller Williams had Command, and Command worked, but it wasn't a good CRM. I was paying for Follow Up Boss outside of it. And that's really all they had. They had this all-in-one tool that was made by Keller Williams that just kind of did everything. Didn't do anything good. So I was paying for tools outside of it too. LPT has Follow Up Boss, Lofty, or KV Core with Dot Loop or Sky Slope, and an entire suite of tools through LPT Plus and stuff. But let's rewind to something I said earlier in the video. And there's going to be a video coming out specifically about this. But I said Keller Williams was the best place for trading. And I said that's going to be no longer true. And that's no longer true. And I fully believe that. What did I mean by that? Recently, with the launch into 2025, launching all new states, including California, and going into Canada, and all of this dramatic growth, LPT started what's called the Ascend movement, where we are vowing and putting tons of money, time, and resources into becoming the biggest in training there is in real estate. And that company I thought could be out there, the company that I thought, why are real estate brokerages staying the same, not moving, and not going anywhere? That company turned out to be LPT Realty, and I found it. And I don't regret a second of it. If you enjoyed this video, please leave a like and subscribe. And the algorithm thinks you're going to like this video that just popped up. Also, if you want to talk about LPT Realty or learn more, have a no obligation conversation just to get more info, no pressure, no obligation, go in the link below or go to talklptrealty.com. I'd love to talk with you about it. Have a great day. Thank you.